Hello, I'm Kate Burns-Gallagher, your host of Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin. We are here in an all-new venue. We are graciously hosted by Elgin County at the Elgin County Heritage Centre. And we are joined by the curator of the center, Mike Baker. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Kate. Glad to be here.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Mike.
Well, this is my 16th year as curator at Elgin County Museum, which is a surprise to me as well. But it's sort of a cap to a long heritage career. I was in a couple of museums before that, a history degree and an education degree, so it's not everyone in that field who can find a job and enjoy it for as long as I have.
Amazing. And tell us a little bit about the history of the Elgin County Museum and Heritage Center.
The museum itself is about 60 years old. Most people will remember the little house up on Talbot Street across from Jumbo, where it was for almost the first 50 years of its life. The facilities were run down though, and to meet present-day standards, the house is going to take a lot of work. So fortunately, the fourth floor of the administrative building, 460 Sunset, was unused, and so the county made a great conversion to the fourth floor, and the museum was there for about 12 years. But space constraints, a little bit of difficulty maybe finding it. We decided that a standalone, larger standalone facility would be good. So incredibly, we've been here 5 years. We're just starting our 6th year, and it's certainly been a benefit in terms of what we've been able to do for programming, especially school programming. We were fortunate to sort of select a theme around the castle. We have a little reproduction of Talbot's castle in the facility here, and so we thought the grade 4 medieval program would be a nice connection with both the local history and with what the curriculum has. So we're back up to about 10 schools visiting us, so we're very happy. And it's also allowed us to see, I think, more people. We're a lot more visible being right out in Sunset Drive. So yes, we're looking forward to maybe achieving some of our pre-pandemic attendance, which was around 4,000 actually. Wow, in our first 2 years.
Incredible. And you mentioned the programming for the students. What other programming do you have for visitors that come to visit?
It's mainly the exhibit of the day. We change exhibits generally about 2 or 3 times a year, and we have a wide range of exhibits. Local history, we've had their British Commonwealth Air Training Program, our Scottish settlement 200th anniversary. We had a show last year on the picnic era. The ports along Lake Erie used to have these huge picnics in the 19th century. The railways, when we had railways, would bring thousands of people down to the parks and the beaches and the ports. And that's combined with traveling shows, various topics again. We had an Enigma machine here last year. We've had shows on engraving. In the end of 2020, we managed to book a show on the 1918 flu epidemic during our pandemic. So we didn't actually set any attendance records when that was here. But yes, but we also have the occasional talk, lecture. We've had 2 talks already this year, one on World War II rationing, which is very popular. We have an annual talk on an aspect of the Battle of Vimy Ridge, because we have in our collection a Victoria Cross, Ella Sifton's, Lance Corporal Ella Sifton's Victoria Cross, which was awarded to him posthumously, unfortunately, for actions he took on the first day of the battle. So we want to commemorate that. We want to remember him and remember all the Elgin St. Thomas men who were in that fight. So that's one of the permanent features of the museum right now, actually, is the chapel to the 91st that used to be in Trinity Church. We have it out on permanent display now, and it commemorates the fallen from the battalion.
Wonderful. Well, we can't thank you enough for your time today, Mike.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll be right back on Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin. We are back on Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin. We are now joined by Rick Wolfe, collector and guest curator of cycling and unspoken history. Welcome to the show, Rick.
Thank you.
Tell us, how did you get involved in collecting bicycles?
I think I was inspired at a young age by my grandfather. My grandfather was an avid cyclist, along with my uncle, who's still alive today, 96 years of age, and still cycling strong.
That's incredible. And how did you, what was your first piece? What inspired you to collect that first piece?
As far as bicycling goes, I was mostly inspired, I guess, in the late 80s that really captivated me more about cycling and the mystique behind the high wheel bicycles.
And can you tell us a little bit about the high wheel bicycle? What is it?
Well, the high wheel bicycle is properly called a high wheel or an ordinary. The derogatory term from the gutter snipes in England was a penny farthing. It was an insultive name given to the high wheel, properly to discourage the guys from riding because the safety bicycle had been invented.
Oh, okay. And so from England to Canada, how did the high wheel make it?
The high wheel came to North America as early as 1876. And the very first ones that were bought by Colonel Albert Pope in Boston. He was a sewing machine conglomerate. He made the Weed sewing machine, went to the UK to visit the Singer sewing machine company to see why they were making sewing machines much better than him. Upon that, he saw the bicycle that they made, which was the ordinary, took it for a ride, came back to North America, shut down his operation as a sewing machine conglomerate, and started making the Pope high wheel bicycle.
Fantastic. And that's how cycling began here in North America?
Yeah, they basically called him the father of modern day cycling in North America. As the roots to Canada go back to Montreal, to A.T. Lane. A.T. Lane was the first bicycle dealer in Canada and started importing bicycles around the same period.
Okay. And then from there, how did the bicycle evolve?
Oh, there was a huge transition. We can step back a little bit to 1869, where we have a velocipede on exhibit here. And the velocipede schools flourished around Ontario and parts of Canada as early as March of 1869 and lasted till about October. And then the transition to the ordinary came into play, and the velocipede went to the wayside.
And are there any Canadian bicycle manufacturers still around today?
No, unfortunately. The CCM franchise, I think, reached its demise in the mid-70s and was bought out by a Chinese conglomerate.
Oh, okay. Can you tell us a little bit about the pieces you see behind us?
Directly to my left, one of the cool pieces on the floor here is the Crypto Bantam Safety. It's an extraordinary cycle, being it's one of 3 or 4 in North America. And it's a geared safety bicycle. And the whole objective behind it, to get the high wheel guys off those bicycles like I was talking about, this bicycle encouraged them to ride this particular bike because of the gearing. It had 54-inch gearing in the hub and gave the guys the pleasure of riding that speed again.
And how did you acquire that piece?
That came out of the Glen Eames collection.
Okay, as you mentioned earlier. What about some of the other pieces here?
Some of the others, I think, which are nice to view would be the Kangaroo, directly behind me. That was found in Oakville, Ontario. A lady that collected toy sewing machines. I acquired it from her through an antique show, handing her a business card, and she said, I have something like that.
Oh, neat.
And she originally found it in 1961 in Elmira, Ontario, buying quilts from Mennonites.
Wow.
So everything's got a really unique story here. And I kind of embellish these stories when people visit here and I'm able to walk them through the exhibit.
Fascinating. Now, some of the other pieces up at the top, they're more modern day bicycles, eh?
Yes, the one at the very top is a CCM, Canadian Cycle Motor Company bicycle. It's called the CCM Flight. It was a model that they were trying to revive the industry, and it made its way to the World's Fair in Chicago. And if you look, it's got a very Art Deco design with the frame and the fork. And it only lasted from 1936 to 1939, and they moved on because of the war years.
Oh, fascinating. Well, we can't thank you enough for your time today, Rick. This is incredible, and we really encourage everyone to come out and check out this really very unique exhibit. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
We'll be right back on Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin. Welcome back to Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin. We are now joined by City Councillor Jeff Kohler. Welcome to the show, Jeff.
Thanks for having me, Kate.
Who is Jeff Kohler?
Well, I think the best way to describe who I am today is husband of Jennifer for 37 years, father of Amanda and Adam, and grandparent to Elena, Amelia, and Iris. Just beautiful grandchildren that we've been blessed with, and from our children. And currently working at FIO Automotive as the stamping manager. I've been in the automotive manufacturing sector for over 35 years now, and enjoy it very much. Unfortunately, had to seek work outside of the city when things slowed down, but looking forward to seeing how things keep improving in the city to make sure that people will be employed here. And then, as you mentioned, city councillor and also former mayor.
Wonderful. So there definitely some big manufacturing news for the region, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And why municipal politics and why now?
You know, I was never interested in politics before, but I blame my uncle. My uncle became interested in the political field, and our family always went and helped him wherever he was running and whatever he was doing. And you know, that kind of sparked the interest, but I think more so it made me pay attention to what was actually going on in our municipal government, and wasn't really happy with that, knowing some of the facts that was happening at the different levels of government through my uncle's involvement, and some of the things that they were blaming on them rather than taking ownership for kind of sparked an interest in that. And then at that time, the St. Thomas Times-Journal actually had letters to the editor, so I was quite vocal about some of the things that I wasn't happy with. And my father always raised me as, you know, instead of complaining about things, see what you can do about it. And because I was doing those letters to the editor, some people actually liked what I was saying in it and encouraged me that way. And then with the philosophy that my father had to do something about it rather than just complain about it, I became involved in a campaign, and then later was appointed to city council, and after a couple terms here I still am. But it's become interesting over the time. I love the work, I love being able to help people, and you know, I feel as long as I have something to offer, I hopefully will be able to have the pleasure to represent people of St. Thomas for many more years to come.
We all look forward to that, that's for sure. Can you tell us a little bit about what your current state of mind is?
You know, I try to make sure that I have a positive attitude. I was lucky enough to learn at a young age that our minds are pretty powerful, and if we don't have a positive state of mind, you can fairly easily, if you wake up in the morning and, oh, I got to go to work, and you're just down, you can physically feel that on you, right? So I try to get up every morning and be thankful that I have a job to go to. Thankful that I have a wife and kids that, you know, depend on me to go to work and help provide for them. So I try to be positive at everything that I do. And if I find myself, you know, life's a tough game, right? And if every day you got up and you just thought about the negative part of that, you can feel that physically on you. So to try to make sure that every day I get up and the first thing I do is find something to be thankful for, and I try to encourage my kids to do the same. And it's really changed how I feel about myself and my life.
I love that philosophy, thinking about what you're grateful for every day. That's wonderful. Now, if there was a talent you could have, what would that be?
See, for an untalented guy like me, there's that could be a long question, because I think for myself, like I grew up playing sports, was pretty active that way. We were fortunate that my parents kept us involved in different activities. So I loved hockey, loved football. Since I get to live the football life through my cousin's children that both play for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, maybe I'd like to be I would have loved to have been able to experience what Joe Thornton has experienced, like wonderful family, wonderful guy, but I always loved being like playing hockey, and to have been able to experience that would have been great.
Walk a day in his shoes, or skate a rink in his skates.
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
Amazing. And who would you say are your heroes in real life?
So real life, I know today my parents are no longer with us, but they'll always be my heroes. I told my children, I said, if I could be half the father that my father was to me, you guys would be lucky. And I always make sure that I don't set goals too high, right? So I want to make sure I can achieve them. But yeah, my parents, all the time, I look up to them. And even today, I find myself, if I am looking down on things, that they help inspire me, right? So I think about them and the positive thoughts that they had, and they ultimately would be my forever heroes. But living heroes today are my wife and kids. I look forward to them and my grandchildren. I just can't wait to be able to get out to see them. I know I seem too young to have grandchildren, but that's every day I get up and I look at their picture. I want to, I can't wait to the next time that we have the opportunity to be with them.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing that incredible story about your family and your background and why you're in municipal politics. And thank you so much for your time and your dedication to our community.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll be right back on Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin. We are back on Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin, and we are joined by Paul Jenkins, the CEO, Chief Executive Officer of St. Thomas and District Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kate.
Tell us a little bit about what the St. Thomas and District Chamber of Commerce does.
I love the fact, obviously, you got the district in there. So we are a member-driven organization that represents the voice of business in St. Thomas, Southold, and Central Elgin. We have about 552, we have 552 members as of this morning. I checked that, representing everything from, sole proprietorship all the way up to large enterprise and multiple thousands of employees. And we try to bring their voice to our elected representatives. We try to celebrate their wins, which I think we're going to talk about shortly as well. We try to help some of the smaller businesses get scale so that they can participate in things that they might not be able to just based on their size. And one of the kind of the things that we're most known for is bringing people together to network, to build connections, and to have the business community being a thriving, important part of our community at large.
Mm-hmm. And you talk about those events, those networking events. Tell us a little bit about those.
We have monthly networking events at various locations throughout, I was going to say the county, but throughout St. Thomas, Central Elgin, and Southold. We get about, right now it's awesome. We actually have, I think with the push to return to in-person events, we're getting about 200 people attending these month after month, which is absolutely fantastic. There's lots of energy, there's lots of excitement. I mean, we've had a lot of good news in our community over the last little bit. Sort of what we had one last week at Fanshawe College. We have our next one's at the Atrium. And we really, for the businesses that are hosting them, it's a way to showcase what they do in the community. So Fanshawe, kind of showing off some of their programs. With the Atrium, it's a co-working space, so it's really like, this is a great office collaborative kind of setting. And in addition, we're increasingly allowing them or having them partner with other nonprofits to actually kind of raise that profile as well, and some of the important things that they do. So it's just a great time to maybe have a drink with a friend, but ultimately to get that business card, to make those connections, and we want it to be good business development for our members.
Great. And those are once a month on Wednesdays?
Typically they're the third Wednesday of the month. You know, we have to be a little bit flexible in terms of when we're scheduling that. But yeah, it's a member event. But if you know a member, ask them to invite you along. We want this to be as open as possible. And you know, for a community our size to have 200 people showing up month after month, it's a real feather in the cap of our business community. It's not about the chamber. We're just a conduit for this. It's about people that really want to come together to figure out, hey, we can thrive better as a community when we work together.
That's impressive. And more impressive is you have an awards event as well.
Yeah. So our Impact Awards are coming up on April 14th. We describe it as the ultimate celebration of business and community excellence. So this year we have our keynote speakers, Miranda Am. She was the Tokyo flag bearer. She was the captain of the women's basketball team. Was based out of North St. Thomas, or London as some people call it. That was my joke, thanks for laughing. So she's there, and then we have magician Keith Brown, who is also going to kind of wow the crowd. But ultimately this is the rah, look at us, get out of our way, and we try to recognize business accomplishments over the past year.
And what are the awards that are being given out?
Oh man, I didn't bring my whole list, but there's 7 awards altogether. So we have one of the bigger ones is the Circle of Excellence Award. That's looking for like long-standing historic contributions to the business community. We have an award for nonprofits, because again, our community is nothing without the important support of those organizations that help provide the infrastructure to make us a great place to live, work, and play. We have awards celebrating, recognizing women in business as well too. So there's kind of awards for, we kind of try to parse it out to look at and recognize excellence in the business community at different levels, whether you're starting out, whether you're established, whether there's a kind of a specific role, or maybe you've just done something. We have a standing ovation award that looks at what you've done in the last 3 years, what type of contribution you made. So, you know, with the 21, we recognize, well, I mean, we have all sorts of submissions. We have a selection committee that I'm fully independent from, and they shortlist it to 3 finalists. So we have, 7 awards, 21 altogether, 21 finalists, and it's just, you'd be impressed, and it's incredible what they've been able to accomplish throughout difficult times, throughout aspirational times as we're increasingly moving into. But yeah, it's a celebration, obviously, that business excellence, but it's also just a great party.
No kidding, no kidding. Now, if people are looking for more information on how to get in touch with the chamber, or if they want to nominate a business for next year, how can they do that?
Oh, I love it. Good lead into that. So visit our website, stthomaschamber.on.ca. I apologize for the .on, but stthomaschamber.on.ca. They'll find information about this year's event in terms of ticket sales. We're almost sold out, so hopefully, people aren't leaving. We're not leaving too many people wanting. And then otherwise, as we kind of get to the end of this year's event, we're looking to just bring up the open submissions for the new one, so they can visit our website, find us on social media. I mean, we're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or contact our office and ask for Christy, not me. So Christy at stthomaschamber.ca, and you can find out all the information you need.
Great. Well, thanks so much for taking the time today, Paul. We really appreciate you coming on.
Awesome. Thanks, Kate.
Great. And that wraps up our show for Next Week Today in St. Thomas-Elgin. We look forward to seeing you next time.